something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, special edition of the program coming to you live from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And we're going to get to all of that and everything that's going on here. I'm just going to tell you right off the top, I'm not feeling great today, folks, but I'm hanging in there. You know, when you get up at 4 in the morning, there's nobody to call. So we're going to do this show even though I don't feel well. If I have to cut away, well, then that's what we'll have to do. But I'll do my very best for you today as I do every day. Good to see you. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, where there's a little bit of a fever today. Just breaking daylight. We're in Washington, D.C. Here are 3 big things you need to know this hour. Kilmar Abreu Garcia is free at the moment, but he's going to be turning himself into ice, apparently. And when he does that, he'll be shipped off to Uganda, apparently. Abreu Garcia is going to be off to Uganda to prison. Number 2, the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago could be the next major city to see federal troops on the streets to crack down on crime and clean out killers, pimps, and thieves. Get rid of the homeless, too. Pretty important thing. And number 3. Here we go. Number 3. The big story over the weekend is right here in the nation's capital. A story of triumph of law and order restored, of a president who keeps his promises. Look, we've been all over the city here for the last 2 days. I've seen 2 homeless people, 2. I don't know what happened overnight, but as of yesterday, it had been 10 days since there had been a homicide in this city. 10 days. Nobody can tell you the last time there were 10 days straight without a homicide in Washington, D.C. It's a remarkable turn of events. Our nation's capital for decades has been a cesspool of crime and chaos, of nonsense and noise and violence. But not anymore under the bold leadership of Donald Trump, who said we need to clean up the city. This is the capital of the United States of America, after all. Trump's federalization of the D.C. police and the deployment of the National Guard is working. And there's proof in the numbers. 0 homicide in 10 days. Listen to this.
The National Guard rolled into Washington last week. The locals seemed skeptical.
The crime is minimal here. There's not really a lot of crime here. It looks like window dressing to me.
But with the Guard on the ground, crime is on the decline. For the first time in a long time, D.C. has gone 7 days without a homicide. And that's not all. Carjackings are down 83%. Robberies are down 46%. Car thefts down 21%. And overall violent crime is down 22%.
When you have these kind of numbers going down, it basically says this is a success, and that means people feel safer.
Like many big cities, Washington's police department is critically short-staffed.
People who don't feel safe aren't free.
Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association says it is ripe for federal help.
More police generally equals less crime.
Yeah, that's how that works. More police, less crime. Seems to be working. Again, I've seen 2 homeless people over the entire weekend. We've walked all over town. We've Ubered. We've been out to Alexandria, Virginia and back. All over the city. 2 homeless people I've seen. 2. Trust me, that's a stark difference from the last time I was here a month ago. Stark difference. Yeah, it's working. And the naysayers are just wrong again. That's all. The naysayers are wrong again. This is a victory for the city. Americans, especially who have suffered the most under Democrat rule and the weight of crime in our capital. But the liberal media won't give credit where it's due. No, of course not. They won't. They'll twist themselves and announce to avoid saying the T word. But let's be real. This didn't happen by accident. This is the direct result of President Trump's decisive action earlier this month when he invoked the Home Rule Act to take control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police and sent 800 National Guardsmen and women from all over the country. And that's going to double, by the way. The left screamed authoritarianism. Well, if authoritarianism means eliminating violent crime like murder in the nation's capital, well, then I'll take it. A city where people can walk the streets without fear of a bullet ending their lives, that's not tyranny, folks. That's leadership. It's what it is. Let's talk about who's been hurt the most by D.C.'s crime in the past. It's no secret. It's a disproportionate number of black residents in this city. The black residents taken worse. Democrats more concerned about lowering punishment for criminals and protecting the victims. That's part of the problem. Listen.
Black people are about 46 to 47-ish% of Washington, D.C. And more than like 92% of homicide victims are black. The majority of victims, probably above 70% of the people who are victims of violent crime, are Black. And from the DC Police Union, we know that violent crime is down 22% over the past 7 days. Robbery down almost 50% and carjacking down over 80%. The federal government doing this and operating there has quite literally made DC safer for Black Americans. When communities are safer for a longer period of times, this gives more stability and allows more economic growth and development. And I find it interesting because all the Democrats and all the left-leaning people who care or who claim that they care so much about Black people are quite literally fighting policies that are making Black people more safe.
Fighting policies that make Black people and the whole city more safe. Pretty ridiculous, isn't it? In 2023, when violent crime spiked to levels not seen since the 1990s, it was Black communities that took it the worst, got hit the hardest. Homicides, robberies, carjackings, you name it, the data shows Black residents were hit hardest, over and over again. Southeast DC, places like Congress Heights were practically war zones. And who was running the show back then? The same Democrat Mayor Muriel Bowser who runs it now, who is yelling and crying foul over Donald Trump's intervention into the city. She should be applauding him. He's making your city a better place to be, Mayor Bowser. Come on, listen to this.
They needed help. They don't like to say it. I wish they'd say, I need help. I wish the mayor of D.C. would say, you know, we're overridden with crime and we need help, instead of saying the stats are down. I mean, they're under investigation now for fake numbers, where they fudged their numbers. And they did. There's no question about it. They said, oh, we're on a downtrend for 20 years. No, they're on an uptrend for 20 years. We are going to make D.C. totally safe. When people come from Iowa, Indiana, all of the beautiful places, and they're not going to go home in a body bag. They're not going home in a coffin.
Who can argue with that? Who can argue with that? For years, the mayor's soft on crime policies let gangs and thugs run wild, leaving Black families to pay the price and to bear yet another one. Trump saw this injustice, said enough is enough. His crackdown isn't just about cleaning up the city. It's about protecting those who've been failed by decades of leftist policies, those that have been ignored. Oh, you're a victim. You're just a victim. You'll be all right. You have to take out the bad guys. You want to help the good guys. Probation and therapy aren't enough for some of these guys. Here's Trump again.
Then the big question is, how long do we stay? Because if we stay, we want to make sure it doesn't come back. So we have to take care of these criminals and get them out of it. We've collected hundreds of career criminals. These are career criminals. You're not going to teach them to be nice. These are probably born that way. I don't know. But they're career criminals. They're very, very dangerous people.
Very, very dangerous people. And again, been here since Saturday morning. Spent the weekend in and around D.C., walking all over the place, Ubering elsewhere. No crime to be seen. People everywhere, by the way. It's been a lovely weekend. It really has. And 2 homeless people. That's the entire count that Ivy and I have encountered in this city over the entire weekend. Pretty remarkable. So I tip my hat to the president. Oh, in Chicago. You want some of this, don't you? You want that crime to go down. You want people to stop getting killed in the streets every day. Why wouldn't you? But who would fight against this? More on this as we continue. Good to see you on a Monday morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Well, another thing that the president is considering to change, well, to change the atmosphere in D.C. This is a bold move. Concealed carry for D.C. Concealed carry. I mean, it seems odd, doesn't it, that the nation's capital doesn't have the right to keep and bear arms. The people are defenseless against armed criminals. Donald Trump would like to see that changed. That'd be a bold move, to say the least. Listen.
Expanding the national concealed carry to apply to D.C. like it does in other states like Texas.
Yeah. Well, they have it in some states, and they feel strongly about it. As you know, I'm in favor of it. People have to protect themselves. I'm a Second Amendment person, very simply. People have to be able to protect themselves. Especially like in Washington, you walk down the street, a guy comes up and slugs you. He's got a pistol in his hand. You can be tough, you can be in great shape, you can be a powerful person, or you can be a guy that weighs 100 pounds with a gun in your hand.
Right.
And I'll bet on the guy with a gun 100% of the time, right? And so you need protection. So I'm a Second Amendment person all the way.
Yeah. It is remarkable that this city has allowed people to be defenseless. You know, the largest and fastest growing number of concealed carry permit holders are women. That 100-pound person he was just talking about could be a woman defending herself against that big burly guy or somebody else. Second Amendment rights could change everything in D.C. It'd be a remarkable move by this president. Change everything. Can you imagine a single mom that doesn't have to cower in fear, where a small business owner can stand tall knowing they've got the means to defend their livelihood and their lives? That's what freedom looks like, folks, and Trump's ready to deliver it. Reciprocal carry. But of course, the Democrats can't stand it. They're overcome with anger. They're mad as hell. Not because they care about D.C., but because they can't stand seeing Trump succeed. How do you argue with 10 days without a murder in Washington, D.C.? How do you argue with that? Call it tyranny. There was some little rally yesterday of a few folks complaining about Trump being here. Complaining about what? I saw National Guard folks on the streets, right? People were talking to them, laughing with them, commiserating with them. So you get a rally of people on the street condemning law and order, condemning safety on the streets of D.C. To me, it's bizarre. They'd rather see the Capitol spiral back into chaos and admit Trump's policies are working. You got Muriel Bowser out here claiming crime was already down, pointing to her cherry-picked stats from 24 and 25. Nobody believes that crime was down. But D.C. was still one of the deadliest cities in America. Homicide rate higher than most major cities. Bowser's progress was a drop in the bucket compared to the bloodbath of 2023 when 274 people were murdered in this city. Trump's intervention took it to the next level. Now we're seeing results that even the most diehard liberals cannot ignore, results that he plans on taking maybe nationwide. Listen to this.
Have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with, and I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they're including the people in this audience. They'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, thank God he's here, because half of them got mugged.
Yeah. Think about this, all right? Think about this. They're in the streets yelling, Black Lives Matter, and Trump's a tyrant. Well, Trump is literally saving Black lives. Over the last 7 years, I want you to listen to this. Over the last 7 years, of the people murdered in this city, 1,241 were black. Just 11 were white. Think about that. 1,241 black people killed in this city, 11 white folks. 112 times more likely to be killed in this city if you're black. Who's Donald Trump helping, folks? Everyone. But those minority communities are being helped significantly more. And while the left whines about militarization, residents in high crime areas like Southeast DC, well, they're starting to feel a difference. Listen one more time.
I said DC was going to be looking like Germany in the 1930s. If you go around DC and talk to the residents after Trump's decision to federalize the city, it sounds like the residents pretty happy to me. It's crazy. Every time Trump do something, y'all had this emotional outrage. Then the shit y'all say it's going to happen never happens. Just like y'all said we was going to be slaves again when he got elected. But anyway, after it doesn't happen, it's straight silence. Then y'all bitch something else. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Well, I can. The Democrats' opposition is pure politics, nothing more, plain and simple. They're mad because Trump's showing the world that real leadership, this is what it looks like. They're mad because his federalization of the police, overseen by Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the National Guard's presence has done more in a week than decades of reform under Democrats and gun control under Democrats. What's that done? Nothing. 10 days. I don't know what happened last night, but so far we could be at day 11. I don't know yet. I'm waiting to find out. But 10 days without a murder. Who could argue with that? Seriously, who could possibly argue with that? Somebody who's not right in the head, I'll tell you that. 1960s hippies who have lost their minds. Maybe. Anyhow, live from the nation's capital, this is the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you here following on X, Truth, Getter, YouTube. Everybody's raving about the YouTube feed. All right, so check that out. Everybody seems to love the YouTube feed. Let that grow. Let's water that and fertilize that and grow it. I don't feel very good today, but I'm glad to be here with you. Yeah, have a rough morning. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, now a word from my good friends at Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, and many of you have asked how you can use it wisely to improve yourselves and those around you, and I appreciate that. Well, here's a perfect way. Hillsdale College offering 40 free online courses on subjects like Western philosophy, the great works of literature, economics, and the U.S. Constitution, among others. I highly recommend Introduction to Aristotle's Ethics, How to Lead a Good Life, where Hillsdale President Larry P. Arnn guides you through Aristotle's teachings on human nature, the good life, and the virtues necessary for happiness. Here's a preview with Dr. Arnn. Listen.
We all have a common problem. How do you live well? Our well-being, our happiness depends upon how we do that. And the Nicomachean Ethics is the first great book written about that subject, and in my belief, the best book ever written. Why is ethics important?
Because we're trying to figure out how to be good.
Good's important. Every action and every choice and every inquiry we seem to make for some good. Somebody give a simple definition of what it is to be ethical.
Ethical would be to pursue a good life.
And get there, right? The reason this book is to be read is to become good. This is an urgent inquiry. We are the makers of our character. The claim of this book is that this is certainly the way to live well. You can become awesome. Start today.
Beautiful, isn't it? Larry Arn, the president of Hillsdale College, one of the many speakers on these terrific classes, and they're all free, more than 40 of them free. How'd you spend your weekend? Did you learn anything? If you'd listen to that, you'd learn something. The Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Christianity, and early America, all of these things. Hillsdale College, you can get it all for free. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. Check it out now. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. All right, I'm going to take a break here from D.C. It's just getting light. It's a beautiful morning here. Just getting light in the nation's capital. I'll be down on the White House, the Eisenhower Executive Office building, just a bit later today, interviewing members of the cabinet and Tom Homan and others. It's going to be a big day in D.C. I'll be back after this. Let me do a little follow-up here on the crime in this country, because one of the most dishonest things you're going to hear from the left is, 8 of the 10 deadliest states in America are red states. Okay. 8 of the 10 states with the highest murder rate are red states, places like Louisiana and Tennessee. Okay, here's the problem with that. That's not telling you the truth. Here's the truth. All 10 states with the highest murder rates in 2023, which is where we have the most recent data that's readily available, have cities run by Democrat mayors that significantly contribute to their murder rates. Cities like Jackson, Mississippi, New Orleans, Birmingham, Alabama, Albuquerque, New Mexico, St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee, Chicago, and Baltimore, all key drivers, often with murder rates far exceeding state and national averages. However, the extent varies. South Carolina's urban contribution is less dominant than, say, Tennessee's or Missouri's. Every one of those cities I just named, by the way, every single one, run by Democrats. Every single one. So when they tell you, oh, it's these red states are worse than blue states, that's garbage. It's not true. These cities have disproportionate murder rates. Why? Soft on crime, prosecutors, a revolving door at the jail, other problems. It's nonsense. So here's what we've learned, apparently. The Pentagon has been quietly preparing for a military deployment to Chicago, part of a broader initiative by President Trump aimed at addressing crime and homelessness across this nation. That, according to the Washington Post. The plan reflects a significant expansion of Trump's domestic security strategy, has raised legal and ethical concerns about the role of the military and civilian law enforcement. You know, I was wondering about this. And I'm going to check on this now with you here in real time. Because the National Guard, let's say Detroit, 1967. The reason I bring that up is there were riots in Detroit, I know. The aftermath was there. The Michigan National Guard deployed to Detroit in 1967 in response to the Detroit riots, known as the 12th Street Riot, erupted July 23, 1967, lasted 5 days. One of the deadliest, most destructive riots in U.S. history, sparked by a police raid on an unlicensed bar, leading to looting, arson, and violence. So putting the National Guard into a city to control crime is nothing new. What's new here is having the president do it, except that it's not new there either. I remember the National Guard. I don't remember it personally, but I've read about it and I've seen the pictures. 1957, Little Rock, Arkansas. President Eisenhower federalized the National Guard to go into the high school there and bring in 9 black children to desegregate the schools over the objections almost over the body of the governor of Arkansas then. The Little Rock 9 went to school. The National Guard was federalized under Dwight Eisenhower for the better good. So what is wrong with federalizing the National Guard to save a city or two or all of them? All of them. Is that authoritarianism? Should be done carefully. Shouldn't be done willy-nilly. But if your crime rate is off the charts in places like Baltimore, and Philly, and Memphis, and wherever else, then don't you think we should do something about that? Do you think it's time we stop talking about Chicago being a shooting gallery? Here, let's go to heyjackass.com, shall we? Let's see here. So far, where are we year to date? 1,285 people shot in the city of Chicago so far this year. 229 killed. Total homicides, 275. It's August. Just let it go for another year, and a year after that, and a year after that. No, I don't think so. The proposed deployment, by the way, would follow the recent activation of more than 2,000 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. That's what they're up to now. And again, we saw them around. Groups of 3 and groups of 4 here and there. And by the way, yes, they're carrying sidearms now. Sig Sauers, by the way. A little shout out for Sig. Donald Trump has repeatedly criticized Chicago's leadership. The mayor, Brandon Johnson. I thought that Lori Lightweight was a bad mayor. And she was. Brandon Johnson brings it to an all-new level of failure. He's a horrible mayor, maybe the worst in America. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. They've all pushed back against the idea of cleaning up Chicago. Why would you push back against the idea of say, look, we've watched Chicago for years, for decades, be a remarkably violent place. A remarkably violent place. Why would we let it continue again and again and again? Why do we just turn a blind eye? Why do we do that again and again and again? It makes no sense, does it? Maybe it's time to get crime under control in this country. Maybe it's time for a new idea. Maybe it's time to try something different. 10 days here in D.C. without a murder. 10 days. I find that absolutely stunning compared to where it's been. Nobody here can remember a period of 10 days where there wasn't a murder in D.C. Doesn't go like that. There was over 200 last year, I believe. So 2 a week, every week. Before that, it's been higher. But 2 a week, every week. So we're well below average now at 10 days without a murder. Incredible, to say the least. So what happens in Chicago? Oh, and it's not just Chicago. Here's another headline. Donald Trump has told Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, in a rather nasty tone, I walked the streets of Maryland with him, Trump wrote on Truth Social. I assume he's talking about out-of-control crime in Baltimore. As president, I would much prefer to clean up this crime disaster before I go for a walk there. I personally don't understand why anybody would fight against cleaning up the crime and the filth and the homelessness. And he's not tossing the homeless out, he's giving them opportunities. That's the difference, giving them opportunities. Well, a new administration in Washington, D.C. has brought a lot of positive change when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. But the truth is, if you want to make America healthy again, it starts with you at home. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You hear from their doctors on this network all the time. And their Recharge product is a game changer. It's the only formula combining methylene blue and urolithin A, designed to power your brain, your cells, and your energy. Recharge enhances. This is the product is called Recharge. Enhances mental clarity and focus. Increases ATP production to fuel your cells, and supports healthy aging with powerful antioxidants. It also strengthens your muscles, boosts endurance, and revitalizes damaged mitochondria, giving you clean, lasting energy without the crash. It's inconvenient tablets, no mess, no blue tongue, just results you can feel. How do you find out more? twc.health/Gruber. That's the Wellness Company. twc.health/Gruber. You'll save 10% on the product. Recharge. Good stuff. I'll take a break here in Washington on the Steve Gruber Show.
Getting back into it now, let me tell you a story that will get your attention. Jerry Gurley is a man accused of orchestrating a deed fraud scheme that targeted the Kelly family's longtime home in Houston, Texas. They've owned it since the 1960s. At least they thought they did. Here's a local news report. Listen.
One Houston family says they're still owed hundreds of thousands of dollars after they say their home was stolen from them. They sued the man they're accusing, and court records show he agreed to a settlement but never paid up. ABC 13's Luke Jones, brings us their story from Acres Homes.
This is the side of their former home, since demolished and replaced with a new home, and all against their wishes. A fraudulent deed, they say, with a phony signature, and just when they thought this matter was finally behind them, they're now gearing up for a new fight.
Gearing up for a new fight, and what an incredible mess. Gurley allegedly forged signatures and used Patriot Title Company, known for questionable dealings, to process the fraudulent property transfer. After the fraudulent transfer, a third party demolished the Kelly family home, erasing decades of ownership history. They destroyed the family home. The scheme involved the filing of quitclaim deeds, which are often used in fraud due to their lack of standard verification safeguards. The Kelly family won a civil judgment against Gurley, but are still seeking criminal charges to hold him fully accountable. Yeah, joining me now is Matt Cox. He knows a thing or two about this because he used to be the guy pulling these scams. Matt, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Sound familiar?
Yes, it sounds very, very familiar.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just say, how does this happen? People are at home. It's their family home since the 1960s. All of a sudden, they start getting notices. How does this scam play out?
In this particular case, I don't know all the particulars, but it sounds like he got them involved, came up with some kind of an agreement with them, and then filed a fictitious or forged deed and started the process and then just never paid them, which kind of makes it, I think, from his perspective, civil, where to me, I feel like it's criminal because it's clearly, it seems like it's fraud to me. And that the police should get
digging
involved,
into this a little bit.
Typically don't.
Digging into this a little bit, it seems that Mr. Gurley had some knowledge as a mortgage broker, and he was committing these crimes this way. You were also an industry professional. That basically you turned con man. How many years did you spend in prison?
Nearly 13.
Yeah, for the same sort of thing. So, I have skeptics here who say, well, that doesn't really happen. It does happen. We just heard it from the family in Houston, and you pulled this scam a number of times, didn't you?
Yes, and what's interesting is I know people to this day. I have a friend who's a real estate agent, and she had purchased several pieces of property that she was going to build on, and she found out that someone had transferred the deeds to that property and they were about to start building on her property, and she was only notified because a family member knew she owned those properties. This is happening all the time.
So you used your knowledge as an insider, basically, in the mortgage industry as a broker. You could get information, and it doesn't always have to come from insiders, but certainly can make it easier to pull this scam. You could have no knowledge of the industry and still pull it off, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'd say it's happening more by novice or people that are not or never were mortgage professionals or real estate professionals than it is by people that have knowledge of the industry. It's happening all the time, and it's one of those things that's being taught to other scammers.
And when you say being taught, we have fraudster school. In fairness, what do you mean by that, Matt?
Sure. Well, you could go on the the web or the dark web and get videos of people telling how this scam is perpetrated. The easiest version would be someone who has, let's say, a rental property or just a vacant piece of land that they bought the land as an investment. It's sitting there for a decade or 2 decades. They don't really plan on doing anything with it right away. And someone could go find that piece of property and transfer the deed, like you said, with a quitclaim deed, or even a warranty deed, and then they could put it on the market and sell it, or they could start building on that property.
So is it, you did this about 20 years ago, right? The world's changed a lot since then as far as smartphones and computers and interconnections and so forth and AI and all this stuff going on. Was it easier then, or is it easier now to pull this scam?
It's much easier now, because those records are more available now than they were when I did it. You had to physically go down to public records. You'd be on video. You would have to physically make these documents, go down and file them. All of this can be done sitting in a coffee shop with your computer now. I mean, you don't need, you can open bank accounts, you can have closings. I had to physically go to a closing. I had to physically go in and open a bank account. You can do all of that just sitting in your local coffee shop with your laptop.
Or in your mom's basement, as the case may be from time to time, right? I mean, what a frightening thing. You think the interconnected world is a good thing, and maybe it is in many ways, but as far as this fraud goes, it's dangerous. Now, you can check on your home's title today and make sure you're not already a victim of such a scam. Use the promo code Gruber at HomeTitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name where it belongs. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud should happen, they will spend up to $1 million to make sure it's fixed and it's taken care of. Go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Gruber, HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Gruber, and you'll save a ton of money. Matt, I want to give you the last word here, because for people who don't believe it, it happens. It happens every day, including today. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I'd have to say that monitoring your title is really the only safeguard to stop something like this. I mean, you monitor your credit cards, your bank accounts. I mean, monitoring your home it's just the only way to stop this type of a crime, which is happening all the time.
Yeah, just common sense. Matt Cox, thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right, go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code Gruber. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Gruber, and get all of that savings and that peace of mind. I'll be right back.
All right. Kilmar Abreu Garcia. The Salvadoran illegal alien whose months-long court flight has emerged as a flashpoint in the Trump administration's immigration crackdown, will report today to the ICE field office, Baltimore, Maryland, where he is expected to be arrested and then deported to the African nation of Uganda. It's after he turned down a plea deal. The news caps an extraordinary 6-month court battle over Abreu Garcia's legal status. It spanned 2 continents, touched off dozens of lengthy court hearings, and involved 3 federal judges in Tennessee and Maryland. Justice Department said Abreu Garcia is a member of the El Salvadoran gang MS-13, caught in Tennessee driving a van full of illegals, accused by his wife of beating her. His supporters have painted him as a hard-working father who's been vilified by the Trump administration, pointing to a judge's ruling that said the government failed to provide sufficient evidence that he's a member of MS-13. He could have gone to Costa Rica, I think, but then there was a change, a big change of how that played out because of a failure to reach a plea deal. My understanding, and I haven't paid real close attention to this case in a little bit. But he was offered to go to Costa Rica in exchange for a guilty plea to criminal charges of human smuggling brought against him while he was still detained in El Salvador earlier this year. But the offer was declined, so now he goes to Uganda. So, you win, but did you really win? No, I don't think so. But he's out, and the crackdown continues. The crackdown continues to get illegals out of this country. If you commit crimes, certainly as an illegal, you'll be shown the door and never allowed back. That's the way it should be. You come to America and you dump on the legal system and you dump on the people here, you're out. Out. Forever. Good to see you here today again. You can continue following on YouTube. Everybody says the YouTube feed is the best. I don't know, but that's where I'm paying attention. So YouTubers, congratulations. You're apparently on the A team for today. But we love X and Getter and everybody else too. Don't get me wrong. I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Can you pull those curtains down, actually?
something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is. And coming to you live from the nation's capital, I'm Steve Gruber. Glad to have you here on a Monday as we kick off a big week here in D.C. By the way, it's been a great weekend. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Fighting for you from the foxhole freedom here. We watch the sun come up in Washington. Yes, we do that every day. It's going to be a special week. A lot of things to talk about going forward. So, three big things this hour. Number one, President Trump continuing to rip on the judge who issued that nearly $500 million judgment against him. Of course, it's been tossed out now. The judge and Letitia James playing a two-person conspiracy. It was a fraud. That's what it was. Number two, are the people working inside the Beltway trying to put their fingers on the scale when it comes to the Green New Deal agenda items? Of course there are. Of course there are. And number three, as I said, here in the nation's capital for the week, we're going to get through all this. I'm not feeling well today, so it's just a programming note. When you get up at 4 a.m. and you don't feel well, there's nobody to call. So you just struggle through. You fight through it. You lean into it. Do the best you can. So bear with me if we have a couple of hiccups along the way. Hopefully nothing worse than that. All right. We've been around Ivy, and I've been here since Saturday, right? We've seen 2 homeless people. That's it. There hasn't been a murder apparently in 10 days. I don't know what happened last night, but it was 10 days as of yesterday. Maybe it's 11 now. I don't know. How long can it go without a murder in the city of Washington, D.C.? I don't know. A while, apparently. But no murders in D.C. for 10 days. Nobody can remember a time that it's gone like that. Nobody can remember a time where it's been 10 days without a murder. That would mean 3 murders a month. That would mean 36 a year at that average. It'd be remarkable. And yet, those on the left are screaming that Donald Trump's federal takeover of D.C. is somehow bad. I don't see how that's possibly bad. I've seen National Guard all over the streets. Police quite visible. It's a good thing. There's no crime then. There's no crime. Anyhow, here's a report from Friday when it was just 7 days without a murder. But look at the other crime stats here. Listen.
When the National Guard hit the ground in Washington last week, that city's crime fight went into overdrive. And now we're seeing the impact and the dramatic reductions in crime. When the National Guard rolled into Washington last week, the locals seemed skeptical.
The crime is minimal here. There's not really a lot of crime here. It looks like window dressing to me.
But with the Guard on the ground, crime is on the decline. For the first time in a long time, D.C. has gone 7 days without a homicide. And that's not all. Carjackings are down 83%. Robberies are down 46%. Car thefts down 21%. And overall violent crime is down 22%.
When you have these kind of numbers going down, it basically says this is a success, and that means people feel safer.
Like many big cities, Washington's police department is critically short-staffed.
People who don't feel safe aren't free.
Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association says it is ripe for federal help.
More police generally equals less crime.
That's how that works. More police on the streets, lower the crime rate, people feel safer. It's a better city. Donald Trump's also going to be planting flowers and grass and beautifying the place. And why wouldn't he? This is America's capital city. Why was it allowed to deteriorate to such a point anyway? My entire life, it's not been particularly nice. Time to clean things up around here. J.D. Vance says it's time to allow police and prosecutors to do their jobs. Here he is.
We don't have to live like this. My message to my fellow citizens here in D.C. or all across the country would be that allowing vagrants and armed robberies to take over your city, that's a policy choice. What President Trump is showing is that if you just empower local law enforcement to arrest and prosecute the bad guys, we can take back American streets. You, as a young family, whatever the color of your skin, you should not have to cross the street because there's a crazy person yelling at your children on the other side. You should not be worried that if you take your son out for a meal at 8 o'clock in the evening, an armed robber is going to assault your family. This is a policy choice to allow lawlessness to overrun our cities. The president has made a different policy choice. And I think what he's showing the entire American community is that we don't have to live like this. And that's the biggest thing that will come out of D.C. It matters a lot for D.C., but I think it matters more for the whole country to see that if we just make better choices, we can take back our cities.
And we don't have to live like this. We don't have to live like this, with crime overrunning all the major cities in America, except for a couple. Those major cities run by Democrats for years and years, decades some. It's a difficult place to be, so it's time to do something different. And the fact of the matter is, whether it's the report from Friday and the plummeting crime rates, or the fact that it's been 10 days now since there's been a murder in this city, the truth is the numbers are the numbers. And as J.D. Vance puts it, the numbers don't lie. Here he is.
Crime has dropped over 35% in the nation's capital in 10 days because of what Donald J. Trump has done.
So is that mission accomplished?
I think that there's so much more that we could do. Absolutely not. It's not mission accomplished. When you make such big progress in a matter of a week and a half, I think that you step on the gas and try to make D.C. even more safe.
Yeah, make D.C. even more safe. It's a good start, but nowhere near where we need to be. Nowhere near where we need to be. But they did protest a little bit in the streets. Their best retort, here it is. Not a murder in 10 days, but here's their best retort. A little chanting on the streets. Listen.
We are the litmus test, and how we respond in this moment will determine how this federal takeover will play out in other cities. At the wake of a threat. D.C. to be a playground for white gentrifiers and developers at the expense of the native population.
So we say, DCAT, you say, fight back. DCAT, 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 fight back. DCAT. I said, let me hear y'all say, stick together.
Anyhow, you get it.
Talking about freeing D.C. and defending D.C.
You get it. You get it. You get it. Fight back. We want more crime. We want more murders. We want more carjackings. You need more medication is what you need. Who would argue about lowering the crime rate in the nation's capital? This is the United States of America. This is the United States of America. It is our capital. Therefore, it's the world's capital, really. How can anybody argue against that? It's remarkable to me. Coming up, another man trying to do good in this world. Difficult circumstances, trying to save lives. Maybe of somebody you know, maybe of a stranger. I'll explain coming up on the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. Well, the tightening of the borders has slowed down the flow of illegal drugs into the country, but fentanyl still a big problem. People are ODing in this country at rates I don't ever remember. That's for sure. People are dying. The drugs are more powerful today. It doesn't matter what drug you're talking about. Drugs are more powerful today than they've ever been. But there is something you can do about it. It's called Narcan. And my next guest has made it his life's mission to try to help people get Narcan, save lives, strangers, people they may know, anybody actually. You see, it's overdosing. Scott King, founder and CEO of Help United States. That's Help Us. Scott, it's been a bit. Glad to have you back on the program.
Thanks for having me back, Steve. It's nice to be here with you again.
All right. So, since we last spoke, how many? I mean, you've got Narcan, right?
That's correct.
And you raise money and you give away Narcan for free. That's my understanding. Tell me how you got into this.
Well, as I told you before, there was a young lady, and I believe it was Burbank or Hollywood, that passed away in a high school restroom from taking I believe it was a pill of Xanax that was not a real thing, but laced with fentanyl. And her friend didn't die, who took it with her, and she left her in the bathroom, and they didn't find her. I think it was like for 8 hours. And after I heard that, it really kind of touched me, because I have a daughter. She's 19 now, and at the time of when that happened, it was like, this could happen, to me. This could happen to people I know. And I thought, there's an easy way to, well, not an easy way, but there's got to be a way to, help get the Narcan in people's hands and make it readily accessible. And I took it upon myself. I reached out to my cousin, Mitch Sequeira. He's the COO of our organization. And we reached out to a few other people, doctors, pharmacists, and paramedics. Everybody thought it was a great idea, what we were trying to do. And we pursued it, and we got everything going. We're now, we receive donations from Narcan Emergent, who manufactures Narcan. We receive donations from Amneal, and that's the naloxone, the generic version. And we distribute it to anybody and everybody that we can get it in their hands. And it's been, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, any idea how many lives you've saved? Any idea how many lives you have saved? Because you don't know. You just hand the stuff out, and you're driving down the street and you see somebody that's overdosing. Or I saw this horrible video. I think I sent it to you of a sheriff's deputy. She was checking the suspect. Next thing you know, she says, "Narcan, I need Narcan, I need Narcan." And she hit the ground. Thank God there was another deputy there with her. She'd have been in real trouble.
There's something, I saw that video, and there's been I've heard a lot of different conversations online about her actually being overdosed, because everybody that I've spoke to, the paramedics, doctors, and everybody, they say if you're overdosing on Narcan, that you're passed out. You're not calling for somebody to bring you more Narcan, to give you Narcan. I think possibly what she may have been having was some sort of a reaction, possibly an allergic reaction, or I'm no medical expert, but from what I've gathered, because I did a little bit of research after I watched the video, and everybody says that it's highly unlikely that she was overdosing, that she was maybe having a panic attack or something. But either way, I can't say it enough for people to have it in their car, have it in their home. We have boxes. We have a sticker on the back of the box, so you can put it on the wall with a decal above it. That's in like the in case of emergency type box. So we've got we're trying our best to get it out there. But I was going to tell you that the thing that's been really unusual, because I thought once we did the couple of hits with you, that we would have a lot of people inquiring, trying to requesting the Narcan. I'm going to blow you away. We haven't broke 100 Narcans yet, as for people calling up to get them for free. And
really, so they're for free. So where can somebody go right now? Because I carry it around in both of our vehicles now. Center console. There's an EpiPen and Narcan. You just never know what you might face in a day. Those are the two things we got in there: an EpiPen and Narcan, things that'll save people's lives. Where can people go right now, Scott, and get free Narcan?
They can go to our website. It's helpunitedstates.org. You sign up. We don't share any information. We send the Narcan directly to you. You can, it's really easy. And that's what's kind of baffling me, is how come we haven't had people, it's free. I'm not asking for any money. I'm not asking for any donation. Just send in your information, or, go online, sign up for the information and we're going to send it to you. No strings attached. So I'm hoping that a lot more people, based on the new administration and what's going on now with people kind of waking up, that they're looking at things more seriously, because it seems like they're not. We've fought a lot of stereotype as being enablers, like, we're supporting the drug users, and that can be the furthest thing from what we're trying to do. We're trying to get it into people's hands that don't expect or think that there's any chance of them ever having a situation like that. And what I say, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
I agreed with that. HelpUnitedStates.org. You can get free Narcan right now. I commend you, Scott, for doing something. You're not asking for money. You're just trying to save lives, strangers' lives oftentimes. I really appreciate you being here, sir.
We're not one of those nonprofits, like I said, out there trying to take in a bunch of money and use it for our own good. I have had a couple of people that have actually come up to me and asked me, how much do you make doing this? What do you do? And I'm like, I don't make anything. This is, they're like, oh yeah, right. Like, you're doing this for free. And I'm like, come on, man. I said, are you kidding me?
Actually, you are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hard for people to believe. Yeah, good people out there. Scott King, greatly appreciate you being here. Founder, CEO of Help United States. You can find out more. Get free Narcan, helpunitedstates.org. Just throw in the center console like I do. You never know who you might come across. Scott, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. It was really nice seeing you, and we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon. There you have it. Still coming on the program today, Dr. Robert Malone will be here. Dr. Robert Malone will be here, author of War, Enforcing the New World Order, the USDA, Our Pets and Livestock. Now in the crosshair from these people. Oh, these people, they never end. They never quit. I'll be right back. Point it up or something, please. All right, back at it here in the nation's capital. We'll be here all week, by the way. I'm going to be over at the White House, actually the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, to be more accurate. I'll be over there a little bit later today, as I'll be interviewing Tom Homan and a number of the members of cabinet, a number of cabinet secretaries and so forth. We don't know exactly who's on the roster for today. Makes it exciting. We'll find out more as we're over there today. The former Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, kicked off the beach because he wasn't following the rules. He was kicked off Georgia Beach, East Hampton. A lifeguard and a park patrol vehicle came up, gathering their belongings, including their beach chairs. They were told it wasn't safe to be there, and they were out there anyway, so they got booted. They were spotted making their way back across the sand through the parking lot after they got tossed. It's just some people just think they're above the rules. Well, maybe Hurricane Aaron could have done something about it. The water was closed until several days later because of Hurricane Aaron. There you go. So anyhow, Antony Blinken got kicked off the beach. So it is. This part of the program brought to you by my good Puro Vet's part of Puro Clean. It's a veterans initiative, helping veterans get to the front of the line. Puro Vet helps veterans get their entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah, entrepreneurial spirit. You can find out more at purovet.com. Purovet.com. You can find out more and help veterans get a leg up, I guess. We'll take a break and be back. Dr. Robert Malone is on the way here in just a couple of moments. Dr. Robert Malone will join me here on the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. My next guest, one of those voices in the wilderness throughout the entire COVID ordeal, saying, wait a second, we shouldn't be doing this. You're on the wrong track. Of course, he was deplatformed. He was canceled. He was silenced. He was shunned. He was mocked. But mostly he was right. Mostly he was right. Dr. Robert Malone, join me now. Robert, always good to have you here, Doctor. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
You were one of the people that were every time you spoke, they cringed, and every time you spoke, you were right. Maybe that's what they didn't like.
Still goes on. I got attacked by Senator Blumenthal the other day for posting a
well
meme.
Done.
Yeah, exactly. He said that I am far right MAGA, and I absolutely shouldn't be on the ACIP because I reflected the perspective of far right MAGA on vaccines. He didn't realize he was actually paying me a compliment.
Richard Blumenthal, a guy who lied about his military service. Thanks, Senator. Really appreciate that. All right, so there's my invitation to Blumenthal. I'm Richard Blumenthal. I lied. Yeah, he lied about his military service. Maybe he should just pipe down and not join the conversation. Anyhow, the USDA, and I see this all the time. Apparently, agriculture is the problem. We have. Here it is, doctor. We have to get rid of agriculture so that people don't starve to death. Does anybody beside me understand how stupid that is? We have to get rid of agriculture if we don't starve to death. Yeah. Okay.
So this is at the core of this One Health initiative that is absolutely another one of these globalist pushes to integrate things through the various organizations, global organizations associated with health, including the World Health Organization. And the argument all sounds good on the surface, that we all share a common health, and the health of animals are important for the health of humans. But when it comes down to the details, the question is, what are the bureaucracies doing about it? And they, as what's remarkable is that what has developed at the USDA and the animal health and plant, its animal plant and health inspection service, APHIS, is almost exactly like what we see with the CDC and the integration of American vaccine policy with the interests of both the pediatricians and the pharmaceutical industry. The same thing has happened in USDA, only even more so, with even less oversight and even less monitoring of adverse events associated with vaccines in all of both our food animals and our pets and companion animals. And that's what this essay focuses on, is this overreach and kind of obsession with vaccination.
Yeah. It's an obsession with everything. And so help me here, because I heard that Bill Gates has developed these like a peel, this coating that goes on apples and things that you can't wash off, you can't get rid of, right? But they have this idea that this mRNA technology could be applied in your food, could be other places. I mean, that's pretty frightening stuff. I didn't agree to that. I didn't say I want that stuff on my food. I didn't say I don't want to be able to wash my fruits and vegetables and still have your damn chemical on there. I don't want that. What do we do about it?
So that gets to the point of whether or not we're even going to be allowed to go direct to farmer. What this really does, Steve, one of the underlying trends is that regulation benefits the very large corporations because they can comply, and it serves to exclude small players, including individual farmers, from the marketplace because they can't comply. This has to do with, for instance, the abattoir or slaughterhouses. Small slaughterhouses are facing USDA inspections. There's not enough inspectors. It drives their costs up. It puts them out of business. And that's all in the interests of the very large slaughterhouses. And that is kind of mirrored throughout the entire system. Regulation is a good thing for the big boys, and it helps to put the small actors out of business. So when you have these situations like Gates implementing this new coating, what it does is creates a situation where you basically will be using this coating on your food stuff, or if you try to market direct without it, you're excluded from the marketplace through a variety of different processes.
Sure.
And so the Secretary Kennedy and the HHS operation is absolutely emphasizing regenerative farming, small farmers, enabling small farmers. That's going to take a while to trickle through the system because there's a lot of resistance to it.
Yeah,
But
and,
that is
this reminds me of
absolutely
something that went around here during COVID, late in COVID. I'm not sure it's quite related, but that's the time frame. Everything's before COVID, during COVID, or after COVID in people's minds, anyhow. But there was a movement afoot by the government to come. It was the avian flu is what it was related to come. I have a small flock of chickens. We live out in the country. I kind of like that. I'm a chicken rancher, doctor. I mean, I'm a chicken, and so they wanted to register every chicken.
Small backyard flocks, I think, are a fantastic approach to things. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they wanted to make sure that everybody like me that has 12 or 15 chickens or whatever they have, that you register every chicken you have. I'm seriously, what would the reason be for that? And the only reason I could surmise would be to control the food supply. If you have to make me register my chickens, the only thing for that is government control. What else would it possibly be?
So they wrap this around the logic of monitoring for infectious disease. Monitoring for infectious disease is like the gateway drug that allows the bureaucracy to insert itself into your life. And that gets back to this One Health initiative that I was talking about. That's the big problem, is the psychology and kind of the group think that it's necessary to monitor all aspects of animal health in order to protect human health. And that's, it's just become an obsession. You know how it is with the bureaucracy. Once you give them some little thing that they can work on, they just expand and expand and expand that in order to justify their own actions, their own salaries, their own budgets, and et cetera, on and on it goes. That's just the nature of bureaucracies. And so the One Health, Animal One Health, is really a godsend for the veterinary industry because it puts them in a central place of importance in the entire health infrastructure, allows them to capture a lot more tax dollars, and allows them to insert themselves into our lives, even those of us that have, as you say, backyard flocks. It's even worse. You know, like everything, it can always be worse. It's a lot worse in Great Britain. They want to basically know whether or not you have parakeets and how many.
It's ridiculous. Right. See, it's not just capturing tax dollars. It's capturing more and more and more control. I got to leave it there, Doctor. But by the way, he wrote the book War Enforcing the New World Order. This is all part of that. And there are red flags everywhere. But hopefully Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and some of the others can break the shackles of some of this nonsense. Doctor, always good to see you.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it, Dr. Robert Malone. The book War Enforcing the New World Order. You should check that out. See what you can find out. Learn a lot. We'll take a break from Washington, D.C. A special edition of the Steve Gruber Show will continue after this.
You know, it's all about rules and control. I mean, it really is. You hear what he's talking about there. Want to police my chickens. You stay off my chickens. My chickens are none of your concern. None of your concern. Well, what about avian flu and the food? Shush. Just stop it. Then don't eat my chickens and don't eat my chickens' eggs and you'll be fine. Stay out of my yard. Move along, stranger. The World Economic Forum also has a lot of rules to control you, not themselves, but you, of course. I think they want us dead. It's a possibility. Listen to this.
This panel is so inspiring and energizing to me because I am ready for a new environmental capitalism. I'm demanding a new environmental capitalism for myself. Every company here at the forum must be net zero and fully renewable. We have no choice. We're at the time where we must create a net zero world. It means that not only do we have to be net zero and fully renewable, it also means that we have to do everything we can to sequester 200 gigatons of carbon that's already out there.
200 gigatons. 200 gigatons. We have to go get it. Not rules for them, of course. They fly around on private jets and eat caviar. You, peasant, will do as you're told. Silence! You'll do as you're told, peasant. They have ways to make you comply. Yeah. Of course they do. All right, so moving on to something else. John Solomon still... King Solomon, I hear people refer to him as, and I think that might be accurate. King Solomon, the preeminent investigative journalist running justthenews.com here in the nation's capital. I'll probably see John sometime this week as he does remarkable work. New article here. The DOJ during Trump's first term, think about this. The Department of Justice during Trump's first term crushed investigations on James Comey, Hillary Clinton, Adam Schiff, and Hunter Biden. Yep. The Justice Department, FBI, and IRS during the first Trump administration slow walked, declined to aggressively pursue, or squash investigations altogether into criminal behavior by James Comey, Hillary Clinton, and her Clinton Foundation, and now Senator Adam Schiff, Hunter Biden, and other politically sensitive figures. A host of declassifications published by Just the News in recent weeks have revealed new details about these investigations by the DOJ, FBI, and IRS, among others. Newly declassified records detail evidence that since fired FBI Director Comey approved leaking classified information, despite his denials to the contrary, using his lieutenants and friends to get that information disseminated. New allegations about how then Congressman and now Senator Adam Schiff of California may have leaked classified information to hurt Trump as well has also surfaced, as well as new information on how inquiries into the Clinton Foundation were shut down. The Trump DOJ declined to pursue prosecutions in any of these matters. Declined at all. The IRS investigation into now former President Joe Biden's son Hunter was also slow-walked by the DOJ during the Trump administration, according to whistleblowers. And special counsel John Durham, appointed by then Attorney General William Barr, did not pursue prosecutions against members of the intelligence community or FBI, except Kevin Kleinsmith. Despite the politicized nature of the Trump-Russia investigation, he just declined. John Durham, remember we sat here thinking, my gosh, maybe this is the guy. He wasn't. He was never the guy. He was never the guy who was never going to be the guy. He was there as a distraction. He was there as a distraction. That's it. That's all he was there for. Hey, look at this over here. He might reveal something. No, it was never the intention. James Comey got away with authorizing the leaks of classified information. Yep. Bombshell revelations involving ex-FBI General Counsel James Baker and ex-Comey Chief of Staff James Rybicki were memorialized in documents that Patel discovered earlier this year, but the passages were originally redacted. Comey friend Dan Richman, that was the guy who got all the information out to the New York Times. Just the News reporting earlier this month that FBI agents did force stunning admissions that Comey used a special conduit to a Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times writer. Columbia University law professor Dan Richman admitted to agents that he routinely communicated on behalf of Comey, his longtime friend, with Times reporter Michael Schmidt, whose work was among the newspaper's Pulitzer Prize-winning stories in the Russiagate saga.
The goal, Richmond told the FBI, was to correct stories critical of Comey and the FBI and to shape future press coverage. The Times article in question wrongly argued that in the case of the Trump-Russia investigation, Comey conducted the investigation by the book. He didn't. Not even close. Not even close. The summary of the investigative steps by the FBI included interviews with the Bureau and intelligence community officials, document reviews, phone and email records, all of it. Comey also got away with leaking the Comey memos, of course. Adam Schiff not charged with leaking classified information either. A career intelligence officer turned whistleblower who worked for Democrats on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for more than a decade repeatedly warned the FBI beginning in 2017 that Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal, according to FBI memos first obtained by Just the News earlier this month. The list goes on here, folks. John Solomon is a beast. Leak investigation failures were widespread. IRS criminal probes into the Clinton Foundation were shut down. Uranium One controversy allowed to peter out without thorough inquiry and investigation, one after another here, folks. It's incredible. John Durham largely failed to secure any convictions. He did almost nothing. He served up ex-FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith to be hit with the sole successful criminal prosecution carried out by the special counsel Durham. That's it. That's all. Nothing more. That's it. That's all, and nothing more. Slow walking of the Hunter Biden case, of course. That's in there too. One after another, after another, after another. All right. I have to take a break here. We'll be back with sports with Brock Palmbush, but I do have to step out of the room for a moment. One quick moment. I'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule of games in the majors yesterday. American League winners included Baltimore, Kansas City, and Texas. National League winners included Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the LA Dodgers. Chinese Taipei shut out Nevada 7-0 to win the Little League World Series yesterday in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. It's Taipei's first championship since 1996. Tommy Fleetwood won the PGA Tour Championship yesterday in Atlanta for his first ever PGA Tour victory. With the win, he clinches the FedEx Cup Championship and wins $10 million. He beat Russell Henley and Patrick Cantlay by 3 shots to take the title. In the WNBA, there were 3 games. Winners were Seattle, Golden State, and Minnesota. And tennis's final major of the year, the U.S. Open, began yesterday in New York. Men's winners included Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, and Novak Djokovic. Women's winners included Arina Sabalenka and Jessica Pegula. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Steve feeling a little under the weather right now. Brock Palmbush back in the studios here on the Steve Gruber Show. Steve will be back after the top of the hour, and he's got a busy third hour coming up here. Michigan State Representative Brian Postumus, he's the majority floor leader in the Michigan State House. That's House District 90. He's Republican out of Rockford, which is north of Grand Rapids, in Kent County. House Democrats, this is Michigan House Democrats, already blaming Republicans for possible government shutdown, but they voted against the prevention plan back in March. Senate Democrats still haven't taken up that plan, so on and so forth, as Ross Perot used to say. That's coming up about 8:15, maybe a little bit after that. At the bottom of the next hour, Mike Cox, former Michigan Attorney General. He's one of the many candidates for a Michigan governor. President Trump taking over D.C. What would he do about Michigan's crime rate if and when he is governor? And then finally, Ivy, Mrs. Gruber, president of the Michigan Talk Network. She's coming on at 8:45. So looking forward to that as always. Steve Gruber will be back after the top of the hour. 3 things you need to know for the third hour of the show. That's all coming up. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Best I could do.
something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country.
That credibility has eroded.
She speaks from experience there, so trust her when she says people don't believe liars. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber.
All right, welcome back to the nation's capital. On assignment here this week at Washington, D.C. Been here for the weekend, Ivy and I. A lot to tell you about there, but let's start with this. I got three big things for you this hour. We're going to talk about D.C. here in a second, but here are three big things this hour, and I'm not feeling well today, so bear with me if we have a couple of hiccups along the way, all right? Number one, a group is pushing for an I-73 corridor, right? I-73. There's no such thing as I-73, but these folks would like it to run from the Upper Peninsula to South Carolina. So it'd be a great alleyway for those escaping hurricanes and so forth. Number two, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, to appear at an ICE office in Baltimore, mid-Tonkin, Uganda deportation. That's going to happen today. And number three, I start here today from Michigan News Source. From Michigan News Source, I have this. Forget science. The Detroit media says Trump derangement syndrome is 100% real and justified. No, Trump derangement syndrome is not a clinically recognized mental health disorder. It doesn't show up in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5, the gold standard for psychiatric conditions published by the American Psychiatric Association, APA. However, the media company Detroit Metro Times says it's real. In their report, yes, Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, says journalist Joe LaPointe. Trump derangement syndrome is a valid and logical reaction to the deranged behavior of President Donald Trump, he writes. He's a dangerous buffoon, and his second term in the White House may be worse than his first. LaPointe went on to write, I didn't really believe that there was such a thing as Trump derangement syndrome, hatred of President Trump so intense that it impairs people's judgment. It's not that I didn't notice the harsh, unyielding language against him. I've said a few tough things myself, but throughout the campaign, Trump seemed to do things that justified it. However, the therapy group of D.C. says the TDS is a partisan insult, not a psychiatric diagnosis. In other words, if you storm into a psychiatrist's office ranting about Trump's latest comments on Truth Social, the fact that he's trying to destroy democracy, don't expect Blue Cross to cover your TDS treatments. The term TDS, widely dismissed by mental health professionals, is nothing more than political shorthand, a catch-all insult coined by Trump supporters and others who look on in disbelief as Democrats melt down on TikTok, pound podiums at rallies, or deliver Senate floor rants predicting democracy's imminent collapse after every move the president makes. In theory, lawmakers are supposed to represent their constituents with a dose of pragmatism and common sense, guided by facts and basic decency. But for those trapped in the grip of TDS, the rulebook seems to have only one entry. If Trump does it, it must be bad, period. Even while negotiating peace between Ukraine and Russia, Democrats raged on social media, claiming it was all just a distraction because Trump's name was supposedly lurking in the so-called Epstein files. CNN's Fareed Zakaria once defined TDS as hatred of President Trump so intense that it impairs people's judgment. That's not a diagnostic test, but it does explain half the cable news commentary since 2016, of which he's been a big part, and the current state of affairs on social media by both elected Democrats and their supporters. It's a syndrome with a pedigree. Well, sort of. The phrase Trump derangement syndrome wasn't some new concept that popped up when Trump entered politics and became a presidential candidate. Back in 2003, conservative columnist and Harvard-trained psychiatrist Charles Krauthammer coined Bush derangement syndrome to mock what he saw as irrational fury directed at George W. Bush. The Trump version was inevitable, just with the volume knob broken off after being cranked to 11. I always turn it to 11, but it only goes to 10. I always turn it to 11. A new Spinal Tap movie coming, by the way, just quick aside. Some politicians have decided to take the moniker seriously. In March 2025, a group of Minnesota Republican senators introduced a bill to classify TDS as a mental illness. Their definition, the acute onset of paranoia in otherwise normal persons that is in reaction to the policies and presidencies of President Donald J. Trump. Symptoms may include Trump-induced general hysteria, which produces an inability to distinguish between legitimate policy differences and signs of psychic pathology in President Donald J. Trump's behavior. The bill says the TDS can be expressed by verbal expressions of intense hostility toward the president, or even overt acts of aggression and violence against anyone supporting Trump or anything that symbolizes him. Critics quickly responded with pushback. Minnesota's Democrat Senator Majority Leader Aaron Murphy called the bill wasteful, frivolous, and shameful. The worst bill in Minnesota history, she said. The irony is hard to miss. The very experts wagging their fingers about supposed instability were themselves engaging in what looks an awful lot like collective meltdown. If psychiatrists trained to keep cool heads were penning frantic open letters warning of impending doom, maybe TDS doesn't affect just your uncle at Thanksgiving. Maybe it really does turn even the so-called experts into case studies. Did you think about that? In a Psychology Today article from September 24, titled The Paradox of Trump Derangement Syndrome, writer Alex Patakis, PhD, described how those inflicted with a toxic fixation and negative reaction to Donald Trump can find calmness. He says that by the freedom of will and deliberately choosing an attitude in response rather than reacting automatically, Trump haters can regain their personal agency, reduce stress, and align their actions with meaningful values and goals. The question is, after approximately 10 years being mired in TDS, can they change, and do they even want to? Do they even want to? Yeah. Even psychiatrists fall prey. If you needed proof that TDS isn't a recognized diagnosis, but maybe should be, take a look at the professionals who've tied themselves in knots over it. Back in 2017, more than 30 psychiatrists and psychologists signed a letter to the New York Times insisting Donald Trump was too mentally unstable to serve as president. They claimed his grave emotional instability made him incapable of serving safely as president. In other words, they broke their own profession's Goldwater rule, their ethical guideline against diagnosing public figures from afar, because they couldn't resist playing armchair psychiatrist on the biggest stage possible in order to get rid of a political figure they didn't like. They didn't like. Look, I don't know. There are people afflicted with TDS. Is it clinical? It's something. It's something, my friends. I'm in Washington, and I can tell you it's to be found here pretty easily. These folks will attack Donald Trump for putting more police and law enforcement on the streets to make the city safer. That's a terrible thing. It's a federal takeover of D.C. Good. It needed one. The place was full of homeless people and had 200 murders a year, sometimes 300. Maybe it's time to clean the place up. Maybe it's time to try something different. Maybe it's time to give him a chance, but that didn't work. Anyhow, what are your thoughts? Make sure you drop me a line, stevegruber.com. Send me a note. Tell me your thoughts. What's going on in that head of yours? I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Well, I've never seen it, not that I recall anyhow. There have been a couple of government shutdowns in the state of Michigan. One lasted 2 hours, one lasted 4 hours, but we're on the verge maybe of something a little bit different. Democrats, I think they're going to shut the government down in Michigan. I feel like they're going to, of course, they'll blame Republicans for their bad behavior and then try to shut it down. They voted against the emergency plan back in March, and here it is, end of August, and still no move. State Representative Brian Postumus joining me. He's the Majority Floor Leader from House District 90 in Rockford. Brian, nice to see you again.
Great to be on again.
Always good to have you. Look, they're gonna shut this government down, aren't they? I mean, when's it due? End of September? I don't see any movement right now.
Yeah, technically it's July 1, but also, you know, the full-on cutoff is the end of September, and I don't see any scenario at this point where the Democrats don't shut it down. I mean, look, they killed our government shutdown prevention plan in the Senate, and they killed in the House our constitutional amendment that would hold legislators accountable to a government shutdown, docking their pay if we don't pass a budget. So it looks like that's where they're heading.
So what are the snags? What are the holdups? Where is the disagreement? What do the Republicans want that the Democrats are going to refuse to give to the point of shutting down the government? Because again, the only time I had to go back and look, I don't remember Michigan government shutting down. I found 2 hours and 4 hours, like 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there, but nothing. Who cares, right? A couple hours.
Yeah, there hasn't been much substantial, but where the big impasse is, look, I mean, we believe that our budget should be less than $80 billion. I mean, as of right now, the governor's plan is $87.5 billion if you include the $3 billion for roads, and the Democrats' plan is $86.5 billion if you include the $3 billion for roads. And their plan actually sets it up so it's a $500 billion deficit. Or $500 million deficit, I'm sorry. So, and that's unconstitutional. So the big crux is we think it should be a smaller, leaner, more efficient government. The Democrats think that they should hand out candy to all their friends.
All right. So you think it should be less than $80 billion? I think it should be, yeah, I think that, look, I look at, and I talk about this with all of you. Pennsylvania does it for $30 billion a year less. How do they do that? Their roads are in better shape. Their infrastructure is in better shape. And the state of Pennsylvania, bigger state, more people, can do it for $30 billion less. Why can't we?
I'm totally in agreement with you. I'm with you 100% of the way on that. The challenge is right now is our budget's already over $80 billion. And so there's a lot of vested interests and people that have their grips on that money already. And so cutting it by $30 billion isn't an easy task, trying to get the Democrats on board with that.
All right. So, the Senate budget spends $1 billion more than it sets aside, a $3 billion placeholder for roads, but doesn't explain how to pay for it. Not balanced. Michigan law requires a balanced budget, does it not?
It does. Yep. And when you hear Senate Democrats saying that they've passed a budget, they're ahead of the game and they're serious about it. They're not serious about it. They passed a budget that they know is unconstitutional and can't be put into law. So they haven't thought about it even a little bit.
Yeah. So didn't I remember this? I kind of remember this thing. Fix the damn roads. Fix the damn roads. I remember this somewhere. Somebody kept saying that over and over and over. It was the governor. Almost 8 years ago now. What's going on? How come the roads are still in such disarray? But they're in disarray, but we're fixing 1% to 1.5% of the roads per year. 1.5% on the high end. We'll all be dead and the roads will be gone.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I don't understand why there hasn't been more progress made. That's why we've been adamant that $3 billion has to be funded directly into roads out of this budget in order to get our roads to where they need to be. $3 billion, we believe, is that number. That's a big number and hard to get to, but we will do that. We will reveal our budget below $80 billion with $3 billion funded toward roads. And actually, the governor's on board with that. I mean, the governor has said to the Senate that she will not pass a budget. She will not sign a budget into law without an accompanying roads plan. So at least we have that going for us. We'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, we'll see where that ends up. And look, fix the damn roads. I mean, that's all she said, and I don't see that. 3.145 billion for roads is what she put out there with no tax hikes as a Republican plan, right? This, you guys have put something out there. What's wrong with it?
I keep asking the same question. What's wrong with it? So we know that $3 billion or a little over that is the magic number. And that's what we also know that we can fund it without increasing taxes. And I think that's absolutely critical that we do that without increasing taxes.
Well, yeah, I think we pay plenty in taxes already. I mean, look, fact of the matter is one of the reasons we're getting clobbered by, Indiana and Ohio, their taxes are lower. Tennessee has none. Gee, I wonder why all that business is going to Tennessee. I think that we were the only state in America to raise taxes last year. At least one of only a couple at the most. You can't raise taxes and punish business, right? And expect them to come here, especially when you got no roads and no infrastructure. Go ahead.
Totally agree with that. We have a governor and a Democrat Party that has ballooned our corporate subsidy program, and my argument, trying to bring companies here through corporate subsidies and handouts and all of these different favoritism tricks. And my view is, why not just set the environment up for everybody to thrive in this state, so you don't have to go bribing people with tax dollars to come start a business here? I mean, why don't we do that?
Yeah, why don't we just set up a business-friendly environment and have people show up because they want to? Brian, I got to leave it there. State Representative Brian Postumus, Majority Floor Leader. I think they're going to shut it down, boss. We'll find out. Thanks for being here.
I agree.
All right, there you have it. Democrats going to shut down the state government. What does it mean? I don't know. Means that they're going to have some egg on their face, I guess. We'll see what happens. I'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so there's this group called the I-73 Corridor Association. They would like to see I-73, a road that does not exist currently, to run from Michigan's Upper Peninsula all the way to South Carolina. The I-73 Corridor Association pushing for the development of that highway. The website says the interstate would serve as a safe alternative to other highways and provide coastal regions with a hurricane evacuation route. The Michigan Department of Transportation is focusing on maintaining the state's current infrastructure, with I-73 not being part of any future planning, but the Ohio Department of Transportation is spending $1.5 million on a study for that state on a possible development of I-73. When was the last time we built an interstate in America? Been a while, right? I'm not really sure the last time we did that. It's kind of an important thing to keep track of. A new administration in Washington has brought a lot of positive change when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. But the truth is, if we want to make America healthy again, well, it starts with you and me. It does. It starts at home. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You hear from its doctors on this network. Their brand new Recharge product is a game changer. It's the only formula combining methylene blue and urethylene A, designed to power your brain, your cells, and your energy. Yeah, Recharge enhances mental clarity and focus, increases ATP production to fuel your cells, and supports healthy aging with powerful antioxidants. It also strengthens your muscles, boosts endurance, and revitalizes damaged mitochondria, giving you clean, lasting energy without the crash. It's in convenient tablets. No mess, no blue tongue. That might be important for you. Just results you can feel. Go to twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save 10%. Look, the Wellness Company is the fast track to your personal wellness. It is. So try out this new product, Recharge. Look, the Wellness Company, the gold standard and everything else. Why wouldn't they be the gold standard for recharging you? Coming up, Mike Cox, former Michigan Attorney General, running for governor here in the state. We'll check in with him and how the campaign's going after this. All right. My next guest is the former Attorney General for the state of Michigan, Mike Cox. He's been not in politics for a bit, but he's back in now because he's running for governor here in the state. Mike, nice to have you back on the program.
Steve, I've been out creating jobs and building a business. So you're right. I've been out. But
Well, that's important.
It's important.
Yeah.
Especially when, as you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's tough in Michigan. We were just talking about that with Brian Postumus. It's tough because the taxes went up. I think it might have been the only state in America that raised taxes. The infrastructure is not in great shape, even though the current governor said fix the damn roads too many times, remember, right? And it still didn't happen. And now it looks like the Democrats are going to shut down the government come next month. I mean, a lot of problems to fix here.
100%. So we're coming into Labor Day weekend. And what's labor about? It's about honoring workers. And here in Michigan, we, as you indicated, we have an income tax that we raised, the only state in the nation that's raised their income tax, and I don't know, at least the past decade. And as you know, Steve, because I've been on before, my number one issue is eliminating the tax on work, eliminating the income tax, and joining the 10 other states that are booming because they realize that when you take taxes off workers, they go out, they create jobs, they work harder, and they create robust economies. And that's what we have to do here in Michigan.
Yeah, that's what we have to do here, and there's no question about it. I mean, look, we need to make Michigan a business-friendly environment, but instead we got rid of right to work. We brought back prevailing wage. We've raised the income tax. I mean, if you're going to run a textbook on how not to attract business and then sit here and wonder why did Indiana just get a brand new car factory and we didn't? What's going on? So what do you do about it, right?
I heard Brian talk a little bit about, this concept. I hate to use a concept, but it's really called economic gardening, meaning let's make the ground good for everyone. And they plant their seed, they plant their ideas, and whatever works grows instead of trying to pick out winners and losers. Steve, if you think about it, think about like Elon Musk, all the bad investments he's had, or all these private equity men and women who have bad investments, and they're trained to make the right sort of investments. Governors aren't. Governors should just create environments, lower the burden on taxes, lower the burden of regulation, create environments where our neighbors, you're in the media, I have my own business, ourselves and our neighbors can grow jobs, and let the best ideas triumph. Instead, we have corporate cronyism, we have these criminal investigations, the MEDC, and so we have cronyism and corruption in Lansing, and in our state's largest city still leads the nation in violent crime. It leads the nation. When I say that, of course, it's been the second highest in violent crime in the past 4 years, according to the FBI. 70% more violent than Washington, D.C. Imagine that, 70% more violent than Washington, D.C. So, I want to bring back fundamentals, right? Let's create safe neighborhoods. Let's get out of the way of people creating jobs, and let's fix our schools.
All right, let's talk about schools for a moment. You just brought it up. Let's talk about education. We haven't done that on the program for a while. So, all right, you put it out there for me, Mike. Let's talk about education. Too many people are coming out of, they're just, look, our reading proficiency is down. Our math proficiency is down. When we're looking at Mississippi as the people setting the standard, man, what has happened to us?
100%. My parents came here a generation ago. My mom's still alive. To America because a union carpenter like my dad was, and a maid like my mom was, could raise their kids, and they could go to good public schools and get ahead. And every parent could dream that their kid could get ahead. And sadly, that has left this state. And it's interesting you bring up Mississippi. I have two granddaughters who live in Hernando, Mississippi. One just graduated, started Ole Miss today, and they get a better education than the kids in my neighborhood in Livonia, Michigan. Let me repeat that. My granddaughters in Hernando, Mississippi, a town no one on your show has ever heard of, get a better education there than the kids in my neighborhood in Livonia, Michigan. That's a failing of education, but really that is a moral shame because the kids in the South aren't any brighter than our kids are. But 12 years ago, and this is the optimistic part about Mississippi. They fixed it in the course of 9, 10, 11 years. 12 years ago, they were the bottom 5 state. Now they're consistently a top 15 state in education across every demographic, white, black, male, female. And, so what we have to do is we don't have to reinvent the wheel because we know it works. Requiring third grade reading, which the governor got rid of, grading schools, which the governor got rid of, creating more school choice, which the governor's trying to defund. Let's bring those 3 concepts to full fruition, and our kids can do just as well as the kids in Mississippi and across the world. Because if we're going to train our kids to compete against India and China and Brazil, it starts with us. We can't expect Donald Trump to save us. It starts with us, and that's why I'm running. I think the people of Michigan want a job.
Well, here's
creator.
something else, Mike.
Yeah.
Here's something else. While you're on that track of top 5, bottom 5, look, when I was born in the 1960s, Michigan was a top 5 state when it came to wealth. We were a wealthy state. Not anymore. We're falling down, way down the list. Michigan's not a wealthy state anymore. That's why the roads aren't done. The infrastructure is broken. The kids don't have an education that's as good as it should be at the local schools. That's a fact. We can do better in all of these places. And it's not just about throwing my taxpayer money at it. How about some new ideas? How about doing something a little bit different so we're not broke all the time? How about lowering taxes or eliminating them like they do in Tennessee and Florida and New Hampshire now? New Hampshire now has no state income tax. You know what that means? The people from Maine and Vermont on either side are going to crowd into New Hampshire and spend lots of money. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. We need to do better, sir.
100%, Steve. You think about this. Eliminating the income tax, the tax on work works. As you pointed out, and you think about geographically different kinds of environments. So it works in the East, New Hampshire, it works in the West, Washington, by the way, a Democrat state. It works in the North, North Dakota. It works in the South, Texas and Florida. All those are different kinds of economies, but they've all done better when they eliminated the income tax. But it's taxes, then we go to regulation. Steve, my daughter, who's a nurse in Mississippi, and she works for Memphis Baptist. So she works both sides of the border, Tennessee and Mississippi. Do you know that during COVID, when the governor is saying we need healthcare workers to come to Michigan, my daughter, who can travel to 42 other states because her license allows her to do that, because those 42 other states have decided that we'll accept nurses within those 42 other states, she couldn't come to Michigan. She couldn't come to Michigan. You talk about overregulation. That's the epitome of it. It makes us attractive.
It's frightening. In the year I was born, about 5% of the people going to work on a Monday morning had to have a license to go to work. Now it's close to half. Maybe we're overregulated. Tell folks where they can find you.
Mike Cox 2026, MikeCox 2026, and Mike_Cox on X, and we're looking to engage. And we're out there. Hey, Steve, I encourage you to encourage all the other candidates. Let's do some debates. It worked in 2015 and 16 in identifying the best guy for president. We need to do that for the best man or woman for governor of Michigan.
Mike, good idea. Heck, I'll moderate it. I'll be your guy. I'll handle it all.
I would love it. I would love it.
We'll do it. Mike Cox, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You have a great week.
You too. I'll take a break and be right back. Yeah, he should go to jail for that. All right, so one of the listeners here was asking me about the I-73 story, so I did a little bit of recon here. Of course, the interstate highway system came from the Federal Aid Highway Act 1956. Eisenhower's dream of an interstate highway system. He got the idea when he saw the Autobahn in World War II in Germany. But there have been sections. I-70, a portion of it was done in 1992. I-99 in Pennsylvania began in the early 1990s, completed in the early 2000s. I-69 actually still under construction in Michigan. Connecting Mexico to Ontario, Canada. Segments have been completed or are in progress, with construction ongoing in states like Indiana, Kentucky, and Texas. So part of I-69 in Indiana completed 2018. Just all these segments, but I-73 would be the first all-new highway, I think. Yeah, if they did it in a long time, that's for sure. All right, so the movie The Art of the Surge. The Art of the Surge, all about Donald Trump's rise to a second term as president. Coming soon. Here's a clip here, and I want to show you this. And that is Wes Moore. He's the governor of Maryland, the guy who rips on Donald Trump all the time, who says Donald Trump's a terrible person and don't bring troops to Baltimore, just awful, awful, awful all the time. And but here he is a few months ago, I guess, 2024, meeting President Trump in Maryland. You tell me if this isn't a double standard. Listen.
Mr. President, welcome back to Maryland, sir. Welcome back to Maryland. It's good to see you. In person, too. Thank you, sir. Great to see you. Great to see you. And great to have you back here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we are very, very anxious to be able to work closely with you, and I know the Key Bridge is something that we're specifically. It's going well. I mean, we spoke with Speaker Johnson yesterday.
Anyhow, Art of the Surge coming. I mean, there's a guy, Mr. President. Gosh, so good to have you here. Gosh, just so good to. Almost out of breath, almost fanboying. A guy who routinely attacks Donald Trump. Well, you make of it what you want. Meanwhile, a guy that attacks Donald Trump all the time might be a little bit nervous about his position in the world. Adam Schiff says he did not commit mortgage fraud despite claiming residency in 2 houses in 2 states for years and years, which is, by definition, mortgage fraud. You can't have 2 primary residences. Here's Adam Schiff saying he didn't commit any fraud. Listen. 1-4.
Mortgage company
14.
Fannie Mae says you're, quote, engaged in a sustained pattern of possible occupancy misrepresentation on several loans. Are these allegations true? How do you respond to them?
They're patently false, and the president knows it. In the housing agency, president's person, Pulte, knows it. He's essentially doing the president's bidding against me, against Letitia James, against this person on the Federal Reserve. Mortgage is their new weapon to go after their critics. But I've been very open about my residency, both in California and in Maryland, with my constituents and with the lenders. So there's no there there. But the common denominator is they will manufacture anything to go after their critics, after members of Congress to try to silence them, after John Bolton, after people on the Federal Reserve, after generals, after former presidents. They're investigating Comey and Clapper, the Obamas, the Clintons. Basically, it's free reign with a corrupt leadership at the Justice Department.
And just very quickly, will you cooperate with the investigation?
Oh, well, we have, and we've refuted their allegations. In fact, we put it in writing. But it doesn't matter. What matters to them is the intimidation campaign, and they're going to mount it against anyone who stands up to the president. But I'm not backing down, and I have to hope that others will stand up to this increasing authoritarian form of government.
Authoritarian form. Yeah, the guy that led every false investigation of Donald Trump, made stuff up, lied to Congress, lied to every news organization, including that one right there, for years and years, and he's Mr. Integrity. He is Mr. Integrity. He's like Bob Menendez without the gold. The gold for this guy is his house. Anyhow, how about one last thing? Cracker Barrel. You've heard this dust up, right? You've heard this dust up in the news. Cracker Barrel has changed its logo and changed the entire landscape inside its restaurants and so forth. The old country store, not what it used to be. And in fact, their stock has crashed. But the woman who made over Cracker Barrel says it's very positive. Everything that's happened is very positive, says Julie Fells Massino. She'll be fired, by the way, guaranteed. Listen.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and once every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Guests and team members, well, it's been a big backfire. She knows it, whether she admits it or not. It's been a big fail. We know it. She doesn't have to know it. We know it. Black Trust IRA is changing the way you get crypto. By the way, it looks like crypto, Ethereum, and Bitcoin are starting to rise again. Are you going to be left out this time? Or are you going to be in the mix? Black Trust IRA is bringing crypto opportunities to real Americans like you. With crypto fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle, now's your chance to join the movement. The Animus AI trading platform runs 24/7, crushing old school strategies and helping patriots like you build serious wealth, just like the elites. It's been named the #1 crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Black Trust IRA offers up to $200 million in protection, and their clients are seeing returns over 250%. If you're a teacher, trucker, retiree, or small business owner, this is your time. Get the $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up now. SteveGruberCrypto.com. SteveGruberCrypto.com. I'll be right back. Well, it's been an interesting morning, to say the least. I've not felt this badly on the air in quite some time. I'll tell you that. Not sure what we got into. Got some bad clams, as Elvis would say, I guess. But I'm going to be heading it out. I'm going to do my best. Heading to the White House here in just a few minutes. And interviewing Tom Homan today and some other folks. That's the plan, provided I can make it through. I don't feel well. I'd sure not want to get sick on the man's shoes. That would be embarrassing. Need some Pepto-Bismol. By the way, ICE just arrested Abreu Garcia at a Maryland check-in. Kilmar Abreu Garcia was arrested this morning shortly after he arrived for a check-in at the agency's field office, Baltimore, Maryland, according to his attorney. The legal fight for months has dominated headlines after he was deported by the Trump administration to El Salvador in violation of a 2019 court order. He faced a possible second deportation, this time to Uganda. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And keep an eye on everything else going on. I'm going to wrap it for today. We're just going to do some music out here because I don't feel great. I'm just going to tell you. But we'll see you tomorrow. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber, and remember, only you can save